morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a look at Darkrai and Umbreon Tag Team GX. We all know by now that over in Japan, all Tag Team GXs end up winning tournaments, so I need to show you winning lists of all of them, partly because it's really fun to look at, and partly so that if you want to make decks built around these Pokemon, you've got a nice list with which to start. So let's have a look at Umbreon and Darkrai. Bearing in mind, Umbreon is my boy, and the first competitive Pokemon deck I ever made was built around the awesome Umbreon from Undaunted. I say competitive, you know what I mean. So, frankly, ladies and gentlemen, bit of love from me to he. So let's start off with Umbreon and Darkrai then. The main attack, 2 darkness, 1 colourless energy, 150 to the active, 60 to one of your opponent's benched GX or EX Pokemon. Cool. The thing about this is that you're not getting giant one-hit KOs. That's not what this Pokemon does. What it does is spread damage around and set Pokemon up to be KO'd. With Marshadow rotating out, the weakest GX we have is Dedenne, and even Dedenne isn't going to be one-hit KO'd by this attack. We are spreading damage around, we are setting up attacks, and it doesn't matter if you take a couple of turns to set up KOs, if you are getting KOs on Tag Team GXs, which give up free prizes. So cool, that sounds like fun. The GX attack for 1 colourless energy item locks your opponent. It's not just item lock, it's trainer lock, that includes supporters and everything. But if you've got 6 energy on total, you also get a one-hit KO. This is one of those GX attacks which just turns the entire game around. I know it can be a pain to use, but literally here, instant KO, hopefully for free prizes, while trainer locking your opponent. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, that sounds like fun. But this is not the only big bad Pokemon we've got. We've got a decent line of Pokemon here. The thing is, we need to get 6 energy on. Some GX attacks are handy bonuses, some you're basically not going to win without, and this is one of those. If you don't get this GX attack off, taking 2 or 3 prizes while trainer locking your opponent, which pretty much locks them out of the game for a turn, you're probably not going to win the game. And we do it here with a mixture of Weavile GX and Incineroar GX. Now, Incineroar here, he's another one of my boys. I mean, you give me an Incineroar Umbreon deck, I will try and make it work. And Incineroar here's got an amazing ability whereby you can put 3 damage counters on it and then put 3 darkness energy onto it from your deck. And we've then got Weavile, whose ability lets you move darkness energy around your side of the board as often as you like, and that's how you get the energy on here. You use Incineroar to get the energy onto it, and then use Weavile to move it over to Umbreon and Darkrai, and then you're rolling here. And it works quite nicely. Now, while we're playing Weavile here, we've got a couple of really good Weavile, so we're also playing one of the ones from Ultra Prism, just a one-off. And this one's got a really nice attack that does 50 damage for each of your opponent's Pokemon that has an ability. Against decks that play lots of abilities, this can give you a big one-hit KO, and that could be an awful lot of fun. We also play Mega Sableye and Tyranitar, because it's just a really good Tag Team GX. Now, we are playing 2 Darkrai and Umbreon, 2 Mega Sableye and Tyranitar. I suppose you could argue that it's more of a Mega Sableye Tyranitar deck, but we've already looked at one of those. This, for 5 energy, does 210, but if it KOs an EX or a GX, you take an extra prize. Or for 5 energy, it does 250. If you've got 10 energy on, you discard the top 15 cards of your opponent's deck. Now, incidentally, we're playing like 11 energy. It's very unlikely you'll get this going, but this is the one exception to you need Umbreon Darkrai's GX attack to win. Because if you can mill a quarter of their deck, bearing in mind by that point they'll have prize cards, cards in hand, cards on the field, cards on the discard, etc., you might be able to mill them and win the game right there and then. You're not going to pull it off very often, but it doesn't really matter because when you do, it's going to be amazing, and when you don't, you've got Umbreon and Darkrai. Incineroar certainly gives you a better chance of pulling it off. But we need to look at a synergy here, because 210 isn't usually enough to KO an EX or a GX, or at least not all of them, and that's a problem because you take an extra prize. But now Darkrai Umbreon does 60 to a bench DX or GX, then when this comes in, you're putting them up to 270 in total, and something like Reshiram and Charizard is going down there. And that's essentially how they work together. Remember that Umbreon and Darkrai has the energy, and then you can just move it over with Weavile, and you don't even have to worry too much here about where your energy's going. That's the great advantage that Weavile gives you. It really is quite fantastic. The synergy between these two Tag Team GXs is very, very nice indeed. And the rest of the time, we're just looking at setup Pokemon. We've got a 2-2 line of Alolan Ninetales, but we're not playing any Fairy Energy here. It is just for the ability that lets you search for 2 item cards when you evolve up. And as you're going to see in a minute, we have quite a lot of item cards we're going to be using here. Couple Tapu Lele to search out your supporters, 1 Dedenne GX to give yourself a new hand so you can draw into what you want, and a Ditto Prism Star because you're playing Weavile, you're playing Alolan Ninetales, you're playing your Incineroar, although, to be honest, we're not playing any Torracat, so you can't really use that, unfortunately. But we're playing enough Stage 1s here to make it absolutely worth it. In terms of stadiums here, we're playing Altar of the Moon. Now, when Altar of the Moon rotates out, you're going to be wanting to play Night City here. Night City gives free retreat to all basic Darkness Pokemon, which is your Tag Team GXs here. Unfortunately, Altar of the Moon doesn't, but what it does do is reduce the retreat cost of any Pokemon with Darkness Energy, or Psychic, but that's irrelevant, by 2. It's not going to give free retreat to all your Pokemon, but it will help a lot. The good thing is it does give free retreat to Darkrai and Umbreon, because generally what you want to do is free retreat it so that you can then move the energy over to Mega Sableye and Tyranitar, and you generally here have a start the game with Umbreon and Darkrai, bring a couple of Pokemon in range, finish them off with Mega Sableye and Tyranitar to take the extra prize, and then use Darkrai and Umbreon's GX attack when you're ready to go. In terms of your supporter line here, we've got 3 copies of Cynthia. Cynthia's an amazing draw card. We've got a Lily, because Lily's also a really good draw card. And we've got Coach Trainer here. Coach Trainer lets you draw 2 cards, but if your active is a Tag Team GX, you draw 4 cards instead. Drawing 4 is incredibly powerful. You should always have a Tag Team GX in the active. So yeah, quite frankly, this is pretty gosh darn awesome. We play free Guzma for gusting and switching, dragging Pokemon off the bench. But the thing is here, that Darkrai and Umbreon need to spread damage around to set up KOs. So you can't have the wrong Pokemon in the active. And similarly, Mega Sableye and Tyranitar needs to KO Pokemon that are GXs, and you need to get a KO so you take the extra prize. So again, it's pretty important that you get the right Pokemon in the active. Yeah, it's pretty important here. We also see a couple of Professor Elm's Lecture, because although you're attacking with Tag Team GXs, you are relying on little baby basics here to actually set up. You need Weavile, you need Incineroar. These are hugely important. You got to get them out, Professor Elm's Lecture. And a copy of Ace Roller, because you're a Tag Team GX, you give up free prizes. Healing's pretty good. Plus, you do self-damage with Incineroar, and even though you can't always just play it straight back down because it's a stage 2, there's a good chance you'll need to heal it at some point. We play 4 copies of Cherish Ball because it lets you search out any GX Pokemon. It's great if you're playing GXs, which you are. 2 copies of Rare Candy. You do need your Incineroar, but we can get away with only playing 2 copies here because we're playing Alolan Ninetales. Couple copies of Choice Band, pretty big here, because it means that something like a Mega Sableye and Tyranitar can get a 1-hit KO on a Pikachu and Zekrom, while also meaning that something like an Umbreon and Darkrai can get a 1-hit KO on a Blacephalon. Pretty good. Couple copies of Ultra Ball, because not everything you play is a GX, and even though you've got Professor Elm's Lecture for the little ones and Cherish Ball for the GXs, you still need a bit more Pokemon search. 2 copies of Max Potion. This is especially for Incineroar here, because you're putting damage on, you give up 2 prizes and you're not really attacking. But also do remember that Weavile lets you move your energy off, so you can then Max Potion, there's no energy to discard, before Weavile lets you just move it straight back over. And then, as we should be accustomed to seeing at this stage, 1 copy of Reset Stamp. It makes your opponent shuffle a hand into their deck and draw cards equal to their remaining prizes. Yeah, it's pretty important. It's a pretty good comeback card. You're going to see it as a one-of in basically every Japanese deck. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is a really, really good deck built around 2 of my favourite Pokemon, and that makes me pretty gosh darned happy. You do need to look out for Power Plant. I'm not sure 2 stadiums is enough. Oh, I never actually said we're playing 1 Black Market Prism Star here, because you give up 1 fewer prize when you're KO'd with Darkness Energy attached. That's pretty important. And I do worry it's not playing quite enough stadiums, and it is a bit of a setup deck, but come on. This is really powerful, and you've got 2 ridiculously good tag team GXs that work perfectly together. Tell me that doesn't sound like an awful lot of fun. So I'm a fan of this deck, but I would very much like to know what you think about the deck. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter or the Wasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WasiPlays, where we talk about games that don't even have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.